It's recording.
It's recording. You're live.
All right. So
I guess we'll start off with simple questions, right? Like, what's your name?
my name is Chris. My name is Christopher Kerr.
There you go.
Yeah.
Middle
My name is Chris.
Last name.
My name is Christopher Andre Kerr.
Okay. Well, it's nice to meet you, Christopher. You already know this is gonna happen.
Okay.
So, this is pretty much the first time I think I've ever questioned you on anything, you know, because everything has always been out there, you know, between us, you know, like we're always updating each other, you know, we're always, you know, being, you know, open.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about a little bit about something that I've wanted to know for a while, I guess, that I really didn't know about you. I've only heard, you know, stories that you've brought to light, you know, and it's helped me see you as a person, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Before we met, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say, what or where did you see yourself?
Before we met.
Yeah, where did you see yourself? What did you see yourself doing? You know, at least.
Man, that's a broad
At
question.
least 5, because I know you know, you were already a teenager at that time. So I would say 5 or I can't say 10 years, but let's say between 5 or 10 years. Where did you see yourself before we met? Do you remember having thoughts?
Oh yeah, like wait. So the question is, before we met, where did I see myself after high school?
Yeah.
To kind of narrow it down a
Exactly.
little bit, right?
Exactly.
Well, it's kind of what I'm. It's kind of what I'm doing now. Even in the yearbook, you know, like Rashad said, you know, entrepreneur. You know, that's kind of what I've always wanted to do from 2003 when I was 13. You know, always wanted to, you know, to own my own stuff and, you know, do my own thing. You know, that part of me hasn't really changed at all. You know, yeah.
But I want to know what spurred that desire. You know,
Yeah.
where were you? You know, what were the conditions? What was the? Because I remember you telling me stories. I remember you tell me stories about Jamaica, and I've never really heard that much about that time. And I know it might not be the easiest thing to come forth and talk about, because you never know what type of things, you know, lead a human being to do or be the person they are, you know.
Well, all right. Well,
Can you tell me one story
yeah.
that will serve as an inspiration, I guess, to, or show as a door opening to people who want to understand more
Well-
about Chris and what makes him.
Well,
You
all
know.
right. I'll tell you that. Well, yeah, I'm from Jamaica, you know, and Jamaica is a different place. Like, you ever heard the saying, you got more jobs than a Jamaican, you know? It's because that comes from the mindset that, listen, you know, we have to do as much as we can while we can, you know. So everybody in Jamaica, you know, they have their job, but they have at least 5 or 6, 7 hustles going on the side, you know. So they could work in the hotel during the day, but at night, you know, they're doing taxi, you know, they're selling mangoes on the side of the street, you know, like anything to make ends meet, really, you know. So yeah, my father, when I was in Jamaica, he worked at the prison, right? You know, he took the fingerprints of the inmates, and my mom, she was, I guess, you know, she was the hustler. Like, she didn't really have a typical 9 to 5 job per se. You know, she did what she had to do. So she sold toasters, she sold candy, she sold whatever she could sell. You know, she would go out there and sell it. You know, and from what she told me about my grandmother was kind of the same way. You know, my grandma's a really good cook, so she sold pudding. She sold all types of desserts. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of environment that I grew up in. Not only seeing it at home, but also seeing it from, you know what I mean, from other kids and their parents, you know, and so on and so forth. So when I came here to America, you know, transitioning from, you got to understand immigrants when they come to the country for the first time. They don't really have much, right? You know, your American standards versus, you know, an immigrant standard is it's like you're starting off from scratch again, right? When you move to a new place, you know, you're starting off from scratch. So I think when my mom and my parents moved here, I think they had less than 500 US in their pocket, right? You know, and to have to start raising a family from that, you know, that's pretty hard. Yeah, we were staying with family, but you still have to make ends meet, you know, and you know, it's tough seeing. Man, you really want an honest interview, don't you?
I'm giving you that eye, right?
All right, you're giving me that.
You're being honest.
Yeah.
I've never heard these things before,
Yeah.
and it's refreshing for me, who's someone, you know, who's known you for this long.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes we have that question in the back of our mind, and we don't ask questions out of respect, and we not only that, but sometimes we're afraid to ask certain questions, and I know that before, you know, you put me on this opportunity to do this, you know, that's the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah.
I didn't even need to prepare because I've always had those questions about you. Like, I've never really known, you know, a more complete version of, you know, what type of things you had to go through. And the reason why I never brought it up is because our past is our past. And whether it was good or bad, that doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. What matters is who you are today, right. You know? And that shows me already the type of decisions you've made, no matter what you've been through.
Right.
So you never really need to ask anybody any questions. But sometimes it does help to see, and also helps to see, like, my life, and put my life into perspective. You know, I was born here. So hearing you say this, it helps me to see that I, you know, again, life isn't as hard as we make it out to be. There's always somebody who might be going through something a lot worse, or who had it tougher, and yet here they are, and they are thriving. You know,
right?
So you know, those stories serve for people. You know, I know it's hard to tell, to, you know, be honest, but our lives are not ordinary. You know, our lives are not boring. Everything we go through has a great purpose, and if we could, you know, open up and be excited about sharing it, it doesn't have to be a thing about pride, but just for me to listen to you is, I'm learning already. You know, with each sentence that you're saying, I'm learning, and I'm sure everybody else could learn from, you know, somebody like you who came with their parents at, you know, at such a time when, you know, things were uncertain, but you were looking for a better life, you know. And my parents did the same thing when they came here too, you know. They wanted to come here for a better life. I guess that's the what America has always, you know, been to people in certain places. So yeah, I am asking for, you know, honesty here, you know, like, of course, and I feel you've done that, you know. Right. If there's anything else you need to share that you feel that you need to, well, you know, you feel free.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, like,
I'll share this. So yeah, so, you know, when you're growing up in a house where, you know, you're starting, you know, your family is really starting from you know, from ground zero, so to speak. You know, it gives you a drive, like, listen, you know, when I get older, you know, I got to make sure that, you know, I'm able to do this, or I'm able to do that, right? So I always thought, hey, listen, you know, entrepreneurship is it's where it's at, you know. That's where the money is, and that's what's gonna give you the ability to, you know, to take care of your family, like, you know, like you want to. You know, I never really saw any other way, like, the ability to I always say with you guys, I mean, the ability to live life on your own terms, that was something that was very attractive.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I can see that entrepreneurial spirit was being molded within you in Jamaica because of the type of life you needed to live there.
Yeah.
So when you come here, I guess, somebody who's born here can't really see that spirit. They can't really get a hold of it. Yet that's the American dream.
That's the American.
But for some reason, people who are born here, who are raised in this country, don't really see the importance of having that independence, of having that freedom, of going out there and actually fighting for it. People born here don't get that. I didn't get that.
Yeah.
All I wanted to be was a part of a system, a 9-to-4 job, which is okay. We're perfectly fine.
Yeah.
That could be the thing. There's nothing wrong with that. Freedom is what you make of it, right? But now I understand why you have that inner desire, and that's what it should be. We should all be independent. The more independence we have, or the more responsibility we take in our hands, the more control we have in our lives. And the more control you have in our lives, the happier
the quality of life.
The quality of life, and those who you love and those who are with you. So I appreciate and thanks for sharing that, man. I'm not going to grill you anymore. That's a lot more than what I expected.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that question. But any other questions?